Hello, my name is Alan, and I'm going to walk you through a little bit of how to get your Canvas shell up and running for the next school year. The good news is Canvas has been updated, and so there are a lot of changes that will be helpful when setting up your courses, their outcomes, and how to measure those outcomes. So the first thing we need to do is get in to Canvas. Scroll down into the quick links and you will find Canvas login. Click it. Eventually it will load. Eventually it will load. There we go. And then we're just going to select one of our courses and see what happens with it. So we're going to just pick this intermediate algebra for the second session. And this course is completely blank. If I go into outcomes, there are no outcomes. So we need to create these. If you notice, outcome groups, it already has one for intermediate algebra. That's the only one that you need. And if you click on this arrow, you'll notice it just says to create a new group. We don't actually want a new group. We want some new outcomes. You do have the options up here. You can import, find, or create. If you have classes that already have these outcomes, you can just import them. You can find them through looking through your other courses as well. For us today, though, we are just going to create. So we're just going to click on create, and this box will pop up. So this box gives us the entire outline of how to create outcomes. So for us, the name is the name of the outcome. So you can shorten it down to outcome 1. I will say that you will want to avoid just saying, all right, here's outcome 1 as your description. For myself, I would actually use the outcome that is provided from KBOR or that has been approved through Academic Council. So for us, since this is just a test, we'll do mathematical thinking. And that's going to be our outcome. You can use a friendly name, and that friendly name would just be like outcome 1. And that would be the easier, the shortened, condensed version of what you would see. You can also, instead of saying, all right, in the description is mathematical thinking, you can go and come up here and just say outcome 1, mathematical thinking. Or there is no character limit in this box, so if you have a 4-paragraph long outcome, just paste it in there. One thing that you might want to add to your description, if you have outcomes that are weighted in a slightly different way. So for example, I give exams that are worth 80 points. And trying to remember, hey, I need 64 out of 80 in order to pass this outcome. While I'm grading it, I'm not trying to do extra math. So I can type it here and say, all right, 64 out of 80. Students, even if they look at this description, they're not going to know what 64 out of 80 means. You will, so that's the important part. Anything in this description, students will not see. I have always avoided trying to write anything in the description that is questionable. So if you have a thought of like, well, I don't really want students to view it, don't put it in here. In theory, though, students will only be able to see this bottom one and not the top one, but I just avoid running the risk as a principle. Once you have your outcome name and a short description of what you are including in the outcome, you'll move down a little bit to the proficiency rating. The cool part is, gone are the days of deleting mass amounts of outcomes. and then trying to reformat them, we are simply going to delete most of these. And we're going to copy mastery because we don't need to, but we're going to delete this one. We're going to delete this one. So we're just left with 2. No evidence or below mastery. We're going to get rid of the word below from the top one. And for the bottom one, we're going to say okay, cancel. Below mastery. I will tell you, there is this weird bug in Canvas that it really wants to shoot up to this upper left like delete key. Good luck. I haven't figured out a way for it not to do that. If you do, send me a message so we can like fix that, because that's getting a little excessively annoying. Mastery at, if you notice, we now have a binary system of mastery at 1, below mastery at 0. So we need to change our mastery level to just 1 point. Again, this just allows us, whenever we are creating the outcomes and measuring those outcomes on the Learning Mastery tab, to really just hone in and see like, okay, what percentage of my students passed? Makes things a lot easier in the future. So we now have a 0 and a 1, mastery at 1 point. We need to keep going down here. We now have calculation method. Calculation method, there are a number of options. Decaying average, you can use it if you want. I would not, because there's just a straight average, which helps for those of you that have multiple measures for each outcome. So if you're doing 3 or 4 quizzes for an outcome, you now have the ability to just average those together instead of doing a decaying average and having to come through here and do some more math. You can just say average, and it will do average. Don't worry about their warning. Like, meh. While true, average is a very acceptable way of measuring an outcome. You also have the highest score, which just says that if a student scored a 6 at one point, or for us, a 1, then they met the outcome. Doesn't matter how many times they have taken that. Most recent score is the most recent score that they have put up. So if they met it the first quiz but failed at the second quiz and you only measured it twice, then they did not meet the expectation. N number of times just says that they have to meet it a certain number of times in order to gain full mastery. If you didn't, you only get partial credit. So it's kind of like an average, but it's weird. For me, I do the most recent score because I only measure an outcome once for each exam. But you can do average or highest score depending upon how you want. So let's just do highest score. After all of this, you just got to go down here to the bottom and hit create. And if you notice, you now have outcome 1 sitting down here with a button to remove or move and change these however you want. If you accidentally messed up creating your outcome, you can go over to these 3 vertical dots, edit, remove, and move the outcomes as well. For outcomes, that's really the only thing that has had a substantial change. If you go into an assignment and link these assignments to the outcomes, that process still works the same. So we're going to do that real quick with just one assignment. So up here in the upper left, we're going to go to assignments. That's announcements. We'll go to assignments. And we're just going to add a fake assignment and say that it is an exam. I'm not going to input a due date. You normally would. I'm not, because I'm going to delete this here shortly. And we're going to say that it is worth 80 points. If you notice, though, that doesn't give us a whole lot of extra information. And so we're going to go down to this More Options button and hit More Options. The nice part is it saves everything. We're going to go ahead and say Exam 1. You can, again, input a description. So if it is an assignment that they need to submit, this is where you would throw in the directions. And then the rest of this is options for you. So it's an assignment because that's the only assignment group I have. We have points. You can display grades as points, percentage, incompletes, GPA scale, or it's just simply not graded. I use points. I'm a math class. I fully believe that a student should be able to figure out their grade based on the points. So that's what I do. For submission type, we do ask that you change this based on the submission type that is given. So for us, we have no submission online, on paper, or an external tool. External tools are like your Hawks Learning, your Turnitin.com, all of those. This is an on-paper submission, so they will just turn it in to me on a piece of paper that I provide them. It is not a group assignment. It will not require peer reviews, assigned to everyone. And again, this is where you can show due dates, so saying that it is due, August 12th, and it's available from the 8th through the 13th. So they get 1 day to turn it in late. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this, though, because it's going to mess up a little bit. And then I'm going to hit save and publish. If you notice, though, there wasn't any spot to add a rubric or to link this exam to the outcomes. Well, that is what we have these 3 dots up here for. They move these things. If you notice, there's actually a rubric button over here on the left. If this rubric button is not there, it is located in these 3 dots. So it's in one of the 2 positions. For us, I'm going to add a rubric. With these rubrics, be very careful. Do actually change the name of your rubric. So don't leave it as some rubric. Name the rubric appropriate to what the assignment is, as well as the semester and year. So we're going to say exam 1, test, and then fall 22. That's the name. And then we can go down here and deal with the criterion, the ratings, and the points. So criterion are different things that you can add to make this rubric actually used in grading. Think of an English or discussion board post where you have points for grammar, punctuation, content, the things that make a post a good post. You can include those here, and you can add as many criterion as you would like. So criterion, we're going to say it's a new one. Description, words, be good with the words. We're going to update this criterion. And then you can change the point values. You can add more ratings in between. So if you want it 5 points or if you want it 50 points. And then you can also go through and describe what each level means. So maximum of 50 points, I would say you only have 1 or 2 issues with words. Okay. You can also say that it is a range. So from 50 to 25 points, you technically received full marks. From 25 to 0, you didn't get any. And so you can enter in a range of points instead of clicking 50 or 0 or 50 and 40 and 30 and 20 and 10. You can go through and you can maximize or effectively change the point values without having to create a whole bunch of sub points. But again, these are not linked to any outcome. In order to link to outcomes, we need to find the outcome. So we find the outcome. It will only bring up the class that you are currently working with. And so outcome 1, mathematical thinking. Mathematical thinking, they needed a 64 out of 80. They have all of this, and then that also has this box that says use criterion for scoring. We do not want that checked. So we are going to uncheck it and click import. If you notice, my total point value down here is at 55. 55. This outcome 1, while it is worth 1 point, it is not included down here for my total point value. That's important. We don't want to give, you can if you want. I shouldn't say we don't want to, but I choose not to give students credit for an outcome. They are already receiving points for the outcome based on the score that they have made. So giving them a point for an outcome doesn't make sense for me. If it works for you and in your course, you are more than welcome to do that. However, it also changes your grading just a little bit. If I included it for scoring, I would be at 56 points instead of 55. Once all of this is done, you also have a few options down here. You can use this as rubric for assignment grading, which just allows you to actually grade using SpeedGrader, and it would actually like go through and wait for you to make your selections in SpeedGrader before assigning the student a grade. You can also hide the score total for assigned assessment results. Again, most of these down here I don't click. Using the rubric for assignment grading is very helpful though. So we will create rubric, and this is now attached to exam 1. Since this is attached to exam 1, you would go about teaching this, and eventually students would submit things, and you would need to grade. So, grade. We're going to go over to SpeedGrader. Opens up in a new window, and we are just going to say, hey, this one doesn't have a grade for this assignment. We're going to view grade. We can make our selections here, but more importantly, we're either going to say mastery, below mastery, and if you accidentally selected one of these, to unselect, just click it again. Then you'd hit save. It would update. If you needed to change it, you would then hit view rubric again and update it that way. If you hit cancel, it kind of just backs it out. And you can change if this was late, missing, excused, or none. Missing is a great opportunity for those that have missed an exam. You can quickly and easily hit that little pencil button and say, hey, it's missing. And based on some of your gradebook rules, it can apply a grade of 0 automatically. I believe that is it for Canvas. Hopefully this has helped tremendously. If not, please give me a call, an email, and we will do our best to get everything figured out. Thanks, and bye.